Gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Clyde, is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1 year ago, President Biden and his Democrat colleagues recklessly pushed through the American Rescue Plan, a $1.9 trillion spending package, which they claimed was for COVID relief. The spending package came after Congress had already passed $4 trillion in COVID relief, $1 trillion of which had not yet been spent. Both President Biden and the Democrats chose to ignore the warning that this spending package would only fuel the inflationary fires. This spending package also gave $350 billion directly to state and local government without proper guardrails in place to protect against waste, fraud, and abuse. After this $350 billion was recklessly handed out, we've seen countless instances where this money has not been used for its intended purpose. These funds were intended to be used to respond to the woes of the pandemic, but we have seen that pumping billions of dollars of free money into the economy simply drives hyperinflation. Mr. Jayoff, thank you for your testimony today. We are seeing record rates of inflation higher than any point in the past 40 years. Can you tell me, in your estimation, how long do you think this runaway inflation might last?
I think it could go on for many, many years because Federal Reserve interest rates are now well below the inflation rate. And I think they're very worried about raising interest rates too much because of the fear of its effect on the stock market and economic growth. So if the Federal Reserve continues to follow this low interest rate policy, we could see many, many years of inflation.
Wow. Thank you. That is not good news, but thank you for that testimony. Congress gave $350 billion to states and localities. However, we do not know whether these billions of dollars went to Americans in need. Dr. Leachman, you said that the American Rescue Plan funds were not distributed fairly based on need, and you defined that as race, gender, and community, I believe. I understand you to say that minorities were disproportionately affected, and therefore they didn't get their fair share. Is that correct?
No, sir, that's not what I said.
Okay, well, you made a comment to that. I heard it twice in your testimony.
Oh, excuse me. My point was that the pandemic and the economic impacts have been felt disproportionately in certain communities and unequally by race, gender, and community.
Okay, and the American Rescue Plan did not then distribute the monies in that way. Is that correct?
No, sir. The American Rescue Plan was designed to distribute its funds based to states based on unemployment, which is a good measure of hardship given that it's measured we have data monthly.
Okay.
And at the city and county level based on a combination of population and poverty.
Okay, thank you for that understanding. I appreciate that. While Republicans were not able to see the American Rescue Plan's complete text until 48 hours before the markup of the bill, we were still able to offer common sense amendments to try and protect American taxpayer dollars from misuse. However, Democrats in this committee refused to adopt any of these amendments to allow for guardrails to be in place. So, in the ARP, I noticed that the city of D.C. received $3.3 billion of funding, and I also saw that $70 million of which was used to convert homes to green energy. So I am certain that when Congress acts next term, that would be the 118th, to realign the government of Washington, D.C. back to the Constitution's original intent of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, that $3.3 billion will have the appropriate guardrails under the jurisdiction of this committee. And with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.